I think we're ready. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. My name's Ty. We're down here at the Real 365 Collective. Our guest today is Ben Burgess, and I first spoke to Ben a couple of months ago when we shared his story for Apex Gen's Motivation Monday pieces. And he shared a story that was really familiar for, I think, a lot of people. It was very deep, and he opened up about a lot of his story and anxiety and depression. And since then, Ben's gone on to become an ambassador for RUOK, and he's now doing some talks at functions and that sort of stuff. Thanks for being with us today, Ben.
Thanks for having me, Ty.
No worries. So, tell us how this all came about.
So my mental health journey started back in February of 1998. I had a traumatic experience which triggered a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic, and I was emotionally unstable. I'd never experienced anything like this before, and it was very overwhelming. I was scared, I was petrified, I was shaking, I was sweating, I was crying, and I had no control over my body or my mind. From that day, I missed a lot of schooling, and it changed my life completely and my family's life. Missing a lot of schooling, led me into getting some professional help through. I was seeing a psychologist from the community adolescence team. I was seeing a doctor. I was seeing a counsellor. I was seeing a herbalist. And I was also seeing a clinical psychologist. And then I was medicated by a psychiatrist. So essentially, my whole life changed. I went from being an outgoing, sort of positive, lots of friends, sort of pretty charismatic kind of character, to essentially being stuck at home between four walls, petrified to leave the house, just emotional all the time, and just always in fear of dying and having these constant panic attacks.
What would go through your head?
What was happening was that I could feel it coming over me, like it was like taking over my body, and then my whole body would start shaking, and I was convulsing, and I had no control of my thought process. And I was sweating, my mouth was going clammy, my heart rate was through the roof, and this just kept happening over and over again, every half an hour, every hour, and I was just petrified. I thought I was going to faint. I thought I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack. So I was petrified to go to school. I no longer wanted to go to school. I didn't want to be seen in public. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I thought there was something wrong with me, and I knew there was something wrong with me, and I was just ashamed about it. So obviously my parents seek to get me help straight away. I was seeing a clinical psychologist at the community adolescence team. I was seeing a psychiatrist, Dr. Bruce Chenworth, my local GP. I was getting counselling through school. I tried.
So what year did that make you for school?
It was 1998. I was in year 8, so it was February 1998 when this happened. It was a traumatic experience which triggered these events like this. It just, like a switch, it just clicked, and I'd never experienced it before, so it was terrifying.
Yeah. And you finished school?
Yeah, so schooling was hard. Like, my parents I wouldn't go to school for months, and so I had to get picked up by a counselling service. They'd drop me off at school before hours, so I'd get there at like 8:30 before my friends and people there, and I'd basically sit over in the back corner of the counsellor's like spare office or in the back corner of the library and do schoolwork. And
did you still have panic attacks at school?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, it was when mobile phones first come out, so I got a mobile phone and I could contact my mum or my stepdad, at the drop of a phone call. And there was a few people that I had within the school who were like a safety network. The school librarian, he was really good, and he was helping me out heaps because I was a pretty good soccer player back when I was younger, and he was in charge of the school soccer team. So we already had a relationship through that, and so he looked after me really well, and I had
Did you know you were suffering from anxiety at that time?
Oh
Did
yeah.
could you understand it? Like at what at sort of when you're in year 8, it's a lot to sort of take in. Do you reckon you had a grasp of what was going on at that stage?
I had no idea what was happening, and I was petrified.
Yeah.
And obviously, I was put on medication straight away for anxiety and depression, Effects or XR and Zoloft. I was taking. I was like, even through my whole teenage years, I didn't understand what was happening to me. I just couldn't fathom why I felt like this, and I just wanted it to stop. It got to a point where it was like bizarre. Like I was physically and emotionally petrified of having anxiety attacks, but it got to a point where I was that physically and emotionally exhausted by it that I wanted it just to take my life and be over. Like I just had enough, and I just felt like I couldn't deal with it anymore, because I just didn't think it was ever going to end. Like, and I couldn't stand to keep feeling this way day after day after day. And that was like the hardest thing, because, you know, like thoughts of self-harm and taking my own life was constant. And it was my family, like my mum and my stepdad, who basically got me through my whole teenage years. Once I finished my high schooling, I got a job as a apprentice electrician up at Tea Gardens, and I still struggled with anxiety and stuff. But my dad, he moved into the area and he wasn't working, so he was kind of like my instant safety net. I knew that if I needed to call him or if I needed anything, he wasn't too far away.
Be there.
Yeah, so that's how I got through the next 4 years of doing my apprenticeship, and then I started, drinking a lot too. Then I would basically binge drink every weekend, Friday, Saturday night. Then I was 25. My son Boston was born, and that was a big change. That was like a big shift in my life and my lifestyle. So I had to rein in the partying a bit and start being a bit more responsible, because I had someone that relied on me now. And I'd have days where I still wouldn't want to get out of bed because I was having panic attacks and feeling anxious, but I'd think about him and think that I need to provide for him, and I need to step up, and that was a really good thing for me to strive to do. So I always used him as like ammunition to fight back against the anxiety.
Yeah.
Through being a father too, I found I felt like I had purpose. Like I had purpose, and which made me, really want to start looking after myself and change my lifestyle. I started training CrossFit, and that was like when I first noticed that my anxiety levels were subsiding a little bit. Doing physical fitness and training a lot, I noticed that I felt a bit more confident and I felt a bit healthier. Once I started getting right into CrossFit, I started and competing in competitions, I started to dial in my nutrition. So, really trying to eat healthy, sort of paleo style diet. Mm-hmm. And that really helped too. So then I was like, I'm kind of onto something here. I'm eating well. I'm training pretty hard. I'm kind of looking after myself. I'm not drinking every weekend. Like I dropped, I went from drinking every weekend to maybe once a month, and I just felt so much better. And like my parents, my family, my friends were like, you seem like you're a lot better.
Like a different person.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I was a different person. So I was feeling good about myself, and my confidence was high, my anxiety levels were low, and I got tagged in a men's mental health awareness thing. I think it was 2016 by a mate, Mitch Bow, and it was like take a selfie with a all good sign, and I just put a massive blog about my mental health journey. Like I just felt confident. I felt like I needed to do it, and I felt like I was ready to do it.
Yeah. And
the amount of support and the amount of people that reached out to me, and I had friends that been friends with for a couple of years, they were like, mate, I've been taking antidepressants for the last 12 months, 18 months, and I had no idea, and they had no idea about me, and they just felt so good that I opened up about it.
Yeah.
And just opened up this big sort of network of people who reached out to me and wanted to talk to me about their struggles with anxiety and depression. And I guess because my friends and my social group felt like I was a pretty confident, outgoing, sort of charismatic guy, and I'm struggling with all these. I was struggling and still struggle with all these issues. They felt confident to reach out to me straight away.
It definitely always seems the way, doesn't it? Like, you know, the people that seem quiet and a bit held back and that sort of stuff, everyone sort of always looks at them like they've got their shit together and they're on top of their feelings and emotions and that sort of stuff. And very often, and obviously in your case, it wasn't.
No, so, like, I think my personality is generally the way I am, like, pretty positive and outgoing and love a bit of banter and a laugh and that sort of thing. But it can go from that to being days where I'm having a panic attack just to get out of bed for no reason, you know what I mean? So, like, I can be walking through Charlestown Square Shopping Centre, just going to get a haircut. I'll be on the elevator and my heart will just start beating out of its chest and I start getting sweaty and clammy for no reason. There's no trigger. And I'm just like, this is just bullshit.
What's your go-to in that situation? Like, how do you deal with them now?
So throughout all the help I got through psychologists and the counsellors, and I did a lot of that CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. So just learning to sort of talk to myself and like make anxiety a third person. So like, don't let worry's not going to control your life, and you're in control of what's happening.
So talk to it like it's there.
Yeah, like it's there, but in my head, obviously, not out loud. And you know, you cannot die from a panic attack. You are going to be fine. Just write it out. And you know, 5 or 10 minutes later, it'll subside. You'd feel super overwhelmed, like you're exhausted. Like it'd be like you've just had a full day at work and then went and trained at the gym after having a 5 or 10 minute sort of panic attack, and you just feel like you're tired and you need to sleep. So it's hard to like regulate that when that happens constantly, because you're fatigued and tired and you're just not with it, but you haven't done anything like physical.
Nah, it's a complete mental sort of ride it takes you on. It's so do you reckon if it wasn't for your mate Mitch, this all wouldn't have come about? Like, it's an interesting way to think about it. Like,
yeah, well, Mitchy Bo, he just
might get a free membership out of this.
He did. He tagged me in this thing, and I guess like that was the moment when I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not ashamed anymore. I'm not fearful that I suffer from a mental illness. I'm confident. I've got good friends. I've got good family.
That's massive.
They love me for who I am. So if I can help someone by showing a bit of vulnerability, I'm just going to do it. And whatever the backlash is, I don't care anymore. So yeah, I guess Mitchy Bo's got a big part of that.
So what is it like now? You've come out that, and you're steering towards trying to really be a support system for everyone, like with this wellbeing collective.
Yeah. So from that moment in 2016, the amount of people that have reached out to me, people that I don't know, it's sort of made me feel like I can build my own network of people that I can, reach out to when I need to. And I've built this community, and because I'm building this awareness, it's like people can lean on each other when they need to, which is really good. And I thought about going back to university and doing like psychology, and then maybe doing some part-time social work in between. But it just financially it wasn't viable at all.
Yeah.
With a
with
having
son
a kid
and stuff.
and having a mortgage, and just living in general is expensive, man. Like you
Absolutely.
can't. So I've thought about it over and over again how I can get out of being an electrician, because that's the trade that I've got, and basically do something that I'm passionate about and want to give back to. So opening up a facility that runs like a standard sort of CrossFit F45 style gym where you pay membership, and then I want to do sort of more one-on-one mentoring stuff with people that are in that struggle and the same struggle that I've been I've been in for the last 22 years, and I still struggle with it, but I manage it, and it's all about
sorry, go on.
It's all about those things that you can do to self-care and self-help make a massive difference in your mental health. So the key things that have really helped me are physical exercise, nutrition, and then really working on my sleep. So I find if I have 2 or 3 days where I only get 5 or 6 hours sleep, on the 3rd or 4th day, my anxiety levels are high. I'm snappy. I can't think straight. I'm, I'm all over the shop.
Yeah.
But then I'll be physically exhausted. I'll have a good 9 hours sleep. And the next day I feel back to normal again. So what I've really worked on doing is getting into bed a couple of hours early. I dim down all the lights in the house when I get home of an afternoon, so there's no bright lights. And I get into bed, and I might be in bed for 10 hours, but I'll only sleep for like 8 or 7 or 8 hours, But the amount of difference it's making in my anxiety levels and just being stable is incredible. And I've only worked on that in the last couple of years.
So that's the sort of stuff you'll be giving, like the advice to people when they come in to talk to you?
Yeah, so we're going to run some mental health seminars. We've got all these people that are super keen to jump on board with what we're doing and come in and give advice. And
yeah, that's wicked.
Yeah. So it's been the amount of support from the community and the people that have reached out that want to get involved with Real 365 has been incredible. And I'm very grateful and humble for that.
Yeah. So what sort of services? You've got a yoga studio upstairs here.
Yeah.
Run us through like what a day can be like for anyone that comes through the door here.
So to manage your mental health, I feel like you need to have routine, and you need to be able to do things that are sustainable. So like the physical exercise through like your strength and conditioning, and then you couple that with yin yoga or any type of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
It just helps create that levelness. And where your mindset's sort of, it's like you're in control of your mindset again, but especially when you do yin yoga. That's my go-to. I'm doing yin yoga twice a week, and it's like the only time I feel like I can.
Is it like a meditation?
Oh yeah, meditation style yoga. So it's just slow, working on your breathing, nice calm music. The instructor's normally got a nice, soft, comforting voice, and you can just switch off and shut down, and you walk out of there, and you just feel like you're half asleep. And
that's great.
And it's honestly, it's the best thing for anxiety, and it also goes really well. The stretching and stuff really goes well with doing the physical sort of stuff like your
your mobility
training. Yeah,
absolutely. So and then you got like some CrossFit classes as well, and strength and conditioning.
Yeah, so we won't be a CrossFit affiliate, but we got a strength and conditioning facility here, and we've got obviously the yoga studio with a meditation area.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have sort of an internet cafe type area, like a common area where people can just come in and chill out, jump on Wi-Fi. If they're feeling too overwhelmed to go to work for the day, they can come in, hang out, sit over in the community area, jump on their laptop, do their work, read a book, just hang out. And I guess the idea behind the whole facility is that throughout my journey, my mental health journey, I always had to have that support network and that safety net. So if I was feeling overwhelmed, I knew I could go to someone or ring someone or have that support. And I just feel like there's so many people around the area that don't have that. I was lucky enough that my family were being super supportive and got me the help that I needed. But I feel like if I can provide a place where people can come in and just know that it's okay not to be okay, and if they're feeling overwhelmed, that's okay too. Like they don't have to.
This can be a place to calm.
Yeah, there's no it's a stigma. There's no stigma. There's no burden. You being here, you can come and hang out.
That's massive.
You can train. You can do yoga. You can do meditation. You can come to the mental health seminars that we're going to hold. There's going to be a kids creche area, and you can just unwind on those days when you're not feeling. Feeling good.
That's massive, and that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. They need that hub, and everyone doesn't have a good family or someone to talk to, or a lot of people just struggle to find someone who gets it, or you don't have to talk that much. You just want to be around people that sort of understand, and it gives you a sense of calm. And what you've done is massive. I know I need this as much as like I ever have. I'm on the back end of my mental health journey. I know I am, but when you've got a place like this, you're not fearful of where it's going or the ups and downs and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So in my mind, I think like if the guy who's set the whole facility up, does all these things that he's promoting, which is strength and conditioning, yoga, meditation, works on his nutrition, works on his sleep, and he knows it's okay not to be okay, well then that's a facility that people that are in the same situation should feel comfortable to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because essentially, like, the mental health problems that we've got in the community and mental illness, it's an epidemic, like...
It's insane. It's really, really insane.
And it's not until I started doing the training through Lifeline Australia and doing the suicide assist course and the mental health first aid and that sort of stuff, you start to see the figures of suicide. And
do you know any of them for anyone listening? If you don't, that's okay. We can link it in, send them to it.
I know that between the age of 25 and 44, suicide is the highest killer for male and female in Australia.
Wow.
I know it's the third highest killer in the world behind heart disease and cancer. And it's not until you think about it and you're like, holy shit.
That's insane.
That's insane. And I think it's about 70 or 75% of that rate between 25 and 44 is males. So being a male, showing vulnerability and letting people feel comfortable to open up about things that they're going through, even if we only help a few people and make a little bit of a difference, it's better than doing nothing. And that's something I'm passionate about, and it's something that I'm going to do, and I'm going all in to do it.
So you mentioned RUOK there. What sort of stuff are you doing with them? Is it an ambassador for RUOK now?
Yeah, so essentially once I started the social page, Real365 Collective, where people can share their stories, their blogs about their mental health journey, and just create that awareness and that sort of community within Newcastle as such. I started doing some training through Lifeline. I know I put up a photo just, with a certificate after completing the suicide assist course, I think, and RUOK reached out to me and said, we love what you're doing and we don't have a community ambassador in Newcastle. Would you, be interested in coming on board? And I was like, yeah, for sure. This is exactly what I'm hoping to do, create awareness, reduce the stigma and, help people that suffer from mental illness and are struggling on that mental health journey. So I've been down to Sydney and done their training, and just yesterday I did my first public speaking or event.
How was that?
It's bizarre because I was petrified, but I was excited. I was super proud of myself because I know that I got to a point where my life revolved around meetings with doctors, psychologists, counsellors, psychiatrists, having my family, have to stay home from social events, miss work, not be able to go on holidays, not be able to travel, all these things, where I was to a point where I'm about to speak in front of 30 or 40
businessmen,
female businessmen, all in suits, and do a PowerPoint presentation on my mental health journey and the importance of RUOK. So RUOK essentially is creating awareness and how to have those meaningful conversations. So asking, are you okay? Taking the time to listen to the person's response and without judgment, and just relax, let them speak, let them get it off their chest what they're going through. Because most of the time when people are struggling, there's physical things that you can see. They're sort of reserved. They might not be looking after their physical appearance anymore. They're sleepy all the time, and they just it can be pretty.
Start saying no to all social events.
Yeah, and
there's heaps.
Yeah, and there's
heaps of
and
signs.
Sometimes people don't see it, but a lot of times it's there and you don't notice it.
I think the big thing that people need to understand is that a lot of people go, I just don't feel, I'm off, I'm anxious, and they don't go, I need help. They're just like, I just don't feel good. If you don't feel good, it's okay to just take that next step and go, I want to feel good. You don't have to wait until you're suicidal. You don't have to wait until you can't, you're crying yourself to sleep. That's what I did. That's what you did. There was no middle ground there where you went, something has to change. You were very young. It's a completely different sort of story. But I think a lot of people leave that way too late.
A lot of the time too, I feel like people are just uneducated about how important it is to look after your mental health. And being a tradesman, I've worked on job sites. Blokes, they'll walk in, big can of V, cigarette hanging out of their mouth for smoko. They'll have, a meat pie and a Red Bull and be smoking cigarettes all day, and then they'll, go and have a few beers at the pub of an afternoon, and they break up with their partner or their wife, whatever, and all of a sudden they're depressed, they're anxious, they're
losing their mind,
having suicidal thoughts, and they've got no control of their mental health, and and they've never experienced it before. They don't know what's going on. But if people actually make the initiative to realise that mental health is real, and you really need to look after yourself to build up that sort of that catalyst and foundation of when things don't go well in your life, we're ready to,
like that.
you know. Mate, the amount of people that have said to me, "Oh, Joe, I love what you're doing. Like,
Wish I could do it.
wish I could stay off the beers and, you know, eat good and that." Like, I've done it a couple of times before. I felt so good. Huh? We'll keep doing it.
Yeah. It's like,
I'm gonna get off the beers and start training and that and get into it.
Good on ya.
Yeah, that's
Do
good.
it.
Let's do it, because it works.
Yeah.
So a good analogy is that we're going to try and create within the Wellbeing Collective is you got your social scaffolding of people around you. So you're going to have the gym facility, you're going to have the yoga and meditation facility, the community, and all these things are adding to your scaffolding, your social scaffolding. And when you make new friends, you add another piece to your scaffold, another brace, and you know, you lose 10 kilos, that's another positive thing. So you're adding more things to your scaffolding which surrounds you, and then, you know, you might have a bad experience where you don't get that job promotion, or
you lose someone,
or you lose a loved one, or anything like that. You lose one piece of scaffolding, but you've still got all the rest of those things around you which are keeping you up and keeping you level-headed and keeping your mental health at bay.
Yeah, that's one of the best analogies for it I've ever heard.
And when these moments of you know, hardship happen, you can always rely on going back and taking a couple of steps back, regather yourself, make sure you're doing your, you know, the things that you've got in your self-care plan, or make sure you're sticking to your routine and build yourself back up again and go again. You know?
That's something we're trying to do at BM as well. We want to bring out some like diaries and that sort of stuff. So you can start to write out some goals. You can start to write out, you know, where you want to be, what made you feel good, what made you feel bad. I think that's something that helps a lot of people, like especially with anxiety and depression. You can spend so much time going around in circles in your head, and you can do a number on yourself. Like, I know I always ended up in a negative place when I did it. When you write something out, it forces you to put a full stop at the end of a sentence. You have to be certain that that's a thing now. And once you write it, show it to someone. Be accountable for what you want to do and what you want to achieve.
Yep, definitely. A bad day is not a bad life.
That's right. A bad day is not a bad life, people. There's lots to say for having conversations like this. I think everyone needs to start opening up more, and that's really what I want to do throughout the community, especially through Newcastle. I really believe if you knew more people's story, you'd walk past them proudly and not look down on people. Everyone's got a little story or something that they're going through, and we all need to start looking after each other and looking after ourselves a little better. And Ben's setting the standard for everyone. Thanks, everyone.